Welcome to the Golf Fitness Bomb Squad. I'm your host, Chris Finn, and I'm excited today because we have our first tech CEO with us. And this is a guy that I've known for a while. Actually, I don't know, shoot, 3, 4 years at this point. We have the co-founder CEO of Mustard, the Mustard app, teammustard.com. This is some of the coolest stuff. Just do not change the station. This is the coolest stuff from a technology standpoint that we've ever been had on the show. So, Rocky, welcome to the show, man. Excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris. I've learned a ton from you over the years, and it's been great just getting to know you and watching you get to know some of my co-founders in Mustard, like Tom House, and some of the impactful work you've done with Tom. And so now that we're in golf, thrilled to share the story with other folks that learn from you and talk about maybe some stuff we can do together in the future too.
Yeah, I mean, this is for anyone who's been following the pod. I came back from the PGA show back in January, February, and we were talking. I was talking about it was I feel like every year there's like a new theme there, right? Like, I don't know, the year before it was like simulators or force plates. And then this year there was, and everywhere you look, there was a new AI company. Everyone calls themselves AI so they can, but having done stuff with you and Mustard and obviously with Tom on the baseball side and then talking about the golf side, anyone who listens knows that I'm kind of a geek in data. And I think that's where we've kind of hit it off. But I guess my first question, just to jump it off, is I'm always a big fan of stuff that is not a band-aid fix. Like I hate
Hmm.
that in the fitness world, absolutely hate that in the instructional world. Like if and the people that listen to this are people who are looking to really solve a problem.
Yeah.
That to me was something that, at least in my opinion, you tell me if I'm wrong, is something that was unique about Mustard. And particularly obviously in the baseball side now in the golf. But I mean, how would you describe kind of that mission that you guys have had around that? And I feel like we share a similar vision there.
Yeah. Look, Mustard started really from the brains of two of the greatest coaches of all time, right? Like not from business people's brains, but from two of the greatest coaches of all time. So one is Tom House, who you know super well, but just for anybody who doesn't know who Tom is, became famous in recent years because he was Tom Brady's quarterback coach. But before that, he was a major league pitcher himself, so he went from baseball to football. He was the most famous pitching coach in the country in baseball. Nolan Ryan's pitching coach, and then a slew of other guys.
Yeah, no, he was okay, Nolan Ryan. Yeah.
Nolan Ryan could do whatever he wanted. Yeah. Um, and then Jason Goldsmith, we think is the top mental performance coach in sports. Works predominantly in golf. Worked with both Justin Rose and Jason Day when each of them became number one in the world, and still works with both of them intensely. But works across sports, and so from their brains, the concept was like, how do you democratize the
Mhm.
world's best coaching?
Yeah.
That's what they came to me with. My brother Luke, who was a professional quarterback, was working with Tom.
Yeah.
And so that was the concept. Like Tom House has this very scientific approach to coaching. When you go to Tom, you know for sure that the training recommendations you get are the most impactful possible recommendations. He's going to give you something to work on that has a ton of dominoes that naturally fall after that first piece, right? He's going to give you one thing to work on that's going to totally revamp your mechanics, turns you into I've seen it happen hundreds of times, turns you into a better player
Mhm.
immediately. How can you program that into an app? And the initial concept in baseball and in football was, how can we just give that to kids all over the world so that they
Right.
might keep playing their sport longer? So we have this phrase, democratize the world's best coaching. It sounds super simple. It probably sounds thoughtless, but it was actually really thoughtful on our part, and we really mean every word. And I guess the most important word is coaching.
Yeah.
So to your point, like if something is band-aidy, or if something is just AI for AI's sake, um, then that's not coaching, And so we work really hard to create products where, as a golfer, we want you to feel like you are in the room with Mark Blackburn, Golf Digest #1 coach in America, and he has identified for you the chunkiest fix for your golf swing with the most dominoes after that fix. And then he's giving you all his drills and exercises to improve. So we spend a lot of time on the tech side, obviously, and we've got, I think, the best computer vision AI team in sports. Very proud of what they build. But I would say we spend even more time on the coaching side. We thousands of hours with Mark Blackburn and with the entire Golf Digest team, Peter Maurice,
Yeah.
mutual
Yeah.
friend of ours. I mean, I've been on the phone with Peter every day for a year and a half, right?
Yeah.
Figuring out here's all this data we capture with computer vision and AI. We're not providing all that data to users. It's useless to them. What are the parameters? What does the report card look like? What does pass mean? What does fail mean? What are the drills people need in order to improve if they've got a long across the line swing at the
Yep.
top and their hips don't really rotate that much?
Yep.
Every iteration of a golf swing you can imagine. What does real coaching look like for that people? That's where we really spend our time and make our impact.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that, particularly, for P4S golf, like we've obviously we're in the online space, and we're always looking. I've been looking for years for like, there's got to be a way to like measure stuff, and I just the tech hadn't been there. And then we met, and I have in my practice, it has always been like, if you give somebody more than three things to do, like good luck, like they're not going to figure it out. And I think that's
Yeah,
been the biggest attraction for me to the Muster Golf app and to you guys, and even just Tom. The first time I met Tom, he put an actual like a label on it, and his teachable, right? Like what is the
yeah,
teachable you're going to be taking out? And I was like, oh, that's a cool word. I'm going to steal that. So I was like, what's the teachable, guys? Um, but I think that's the coolest thing to me about the app. Obviously, we can get into the tech and how it works, and the like even just my son was like, he's not a baseball. He's 12. He's not or 11, I guess. He's 12. He's not a baseball player. He was like, I was like, Lucas, look at this. He said, oh, cool. Can you film me? Let's see what happens. What should I do? Like,
yeah,
and it made it fun for him. And it was the cool thing for me is like, oh, that's like actually accurate. And that's, I've seen Tom actually say that exact thing to someone, to a professional. And so it's, to me, it's delivered in such a way that it's going to be actually digestible by people, to your point, to actually get better. The tech is
yeah.
there. I've seen a lot of the other tech. It sucks, just to be
Well,
frank, but especially once you
look,
start talking about rotationally. But just knowing you guys and what you're looking for, I think that's been the biggest draw for me to you guys. And yeah, I don't know if you have like, I think for some people probably never seen what this is, like AI, like what the heck is that? Like, how would you describe that to somebody who's never seen it, like how it works? I don't know if you have like some
sure,
examples of how you've seen it work, where somebody
sure.
listening could like start to understand. Because if people can tell by the pace of my voice, I'm really excited because this is the coolest stuff I think that I've seen.
Well, let me just say, I appreciate everything you said. I think that in the computer vision AI space, like in sports, golf is really the example of a sport where there are other companies that I think are doing really cool work from the tech
Yeah,
standpoint. So there's a number of companies that I have a ton of respect for in golf. I think again where we just have a different angle and I think speak to a different market than most of the other
yeah,
companies that are doing great work. Um, I think the natural thing with computer vision AI, where you're measuring basically to generalize, you're measuring every joint location over every frame of a video. Okay, so you have all these things plotted, and it's 10,000
yeah,
lines of numbers on a spreadsheet.
yeah,
Uh, where we're different is I think the natural thing with all that data is to provide it to coaches or to really elite players. Justin Rose, our golf partner, loves to dive in on all that data
yeah,
and understand when his hips are 1 degree different, and
yeah,
if there's wind off the left, does that affect his
yeah,
swing half a degree and these kinds of things. And those things matter a lot for him. There's real money on the line.
yeah,
Uh, but that doesn't matter to the average golfer, right, where
no,
they don't know how to interpret that stuff. So we separate ourselves by taking that spreadsheet and then working with great coaches and figuring out how do you filter that information to a player. Basically, all this talk about artificial intelligence, human intelligence is pretty good too sometimes.
yes,
What we realize is that like Tom House, Mark Blackburn, there are coaches that have magic, and the magic I see, Tom's one of these guys that I've seen the most. The magic in Tom is to identify all the things. He looks at an 11-year-old pitcher. Imagine all the things he sees that are wrong.
so many things.
This person's just understanding where their body is and
Yeah,
in space and just figuring out how to move. He sees 1,000 things that could be fixed, and he identifies the one that's most impactful. So over
yeah,
40 years of doing that, he's got a checklist in the back of his mind, even if he doesn't realize it at first.
hmm,
And so what we do is we try to pull out those checklists that the great coaches have, the checklists that make the magic, and then we program it. And then the second piece of that, I mean, you talked about the visuals drawing your son in, even though he's
yeah,
not. I mean, that's huge for us. Like we have this mantra that we stole from Tom: inform, instruct, inspire.
yeah,
the Inspire is probably the most important one of those.
Yeah.
You want to convince people to keep playing, keep trying, keep progressing. If people just keep playing, keep trying, they're going to get better. They're going to have more fun, and that's going to build on itself.
Yeah,
Uh,
and you'll love this. So my son, so he literally, I have to like drag him out. Like, I'm like, dude, let's go outside. Like, he's a bookworm. So I'm like, Lucas, let's go outside. Like, let's throw the ball. So he goes, literally the other day, he goes, well, can we use the mustard? Can we like use the app to see if I got
nice.
better? I'm like, dude, you haven't done a thing that it told you to do. Like, you're not going to be any better. He's like, but can we do it? So I was like, I tried. It didn't work, but I was like, well, I'll tell you what, we can use the app if you practice for the next 3, 4 days. Right. So he went on, he practiced for like 2 days and then he kind of like fell off and he's back to reading a book. And I'm sure we'll have the same discussion. Maybe I'll down it to he's just got to practice 2 days and we can redo it. But it was so funny because he was like motivated by the tech. It was pretty funny.
Well, we think a lot about, again, we kind of were born to this focus on kids because we were in baseball and then
Yeah.
football first. We think a lot about just the issues of kids being on their phones too much and
Yeah.
playing video games rather than
Yeah.
being outside. Your kids reading books, that's pretty good. I wouldn't, I'm not going to complain
Yeah,
about that. That's my
I've
kids.
never thought it's fine. My wife and I, quick sidetrack. I never thought I'd have to ground my kid by saying you can't read. Like,
That's
like
so good.
he read Good to Great when he was like in third grade and like understood it.
Wow.
I'm like I'm the dumbest. You are the smartest man in this house. So,
Yeah. I mean, sounds like you.
so
So that's great. But, for most kids, it's that they're on the phone too much. So
yeah,
we've talked about how do you take society's problem, the cell phone, and
yeah,
how do you turn it into society's solution? And so
exactly.
basically, we want to meet kids where they are. All right,
Hmm.
they're on the phone, fine. We create a visually engaging solution that's on the phone, something that's playful, create streaks, it's gamified improvement. But the way you improve, the way you create your streaks, the way you engage with the application, you got to get up, you got to move your body around, you got to a lot of our stuff you can do inside, but sometimes you got to be outside,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to kind of merge the two worlds that way. And I think in baseball, we've seen a lot of success that way. And in golf, product's been out for a month, but I think that's a key part of the product offering for us is people listening to this podcast. A lot of people feel like they don't have time to go to the range. So how do they get better? Okay, everybody's got some down the line swing video on their phone.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
can upload that to the Mustard app. It'll give you your report card. It'll give you your drills and exercises to do. You can get all that done while you're sitting on the couch at home, or more likely for most of our users, while they're sitting at the office
Yeah.
procrastinating work. That's fine too, as long as you don't work at Mustard. That's great.
Yeah.
Uh, and then you have the drills and exercises you can do without a club, usually, and just wherever you are. Find a mirror, find a little bit of open space in the office or at home, and you can get better just working on movement patterns in a way that a great coach instructs you to do.
That's so like, can you paint a picture how like so and down the line just for everyone who doesn't know, that's you film it from behind you. So like you'd be filming it down your target line. But
Yeah.
so like what's a use case that that you've seen in the first, you guys are obviously it's the golf side has just kind of come out. In terms of I know the baseball side has some pretty wild success stories in terms of guys
Yeah.
going from nowhere to, having contracts in the pros. But like
Yeah.
what are you seeing on the golf side that's been like as some of like the early markers of success that you guys have seen?
Yeah, honestly, the good thing and the challenging thing for us is that people get dramatically better within a couple of weeks. So,
Wow.
so when you upload your first swing to Mustard or take your first swing in the app, you get a swing score, and the average right now after 2 weeks. So people, if you upload another video every week, after 2 weeks, the average is that people improve their swing scores 10%.
Wow.
That's pretty dramatic. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's um that's the difference with several fairways around. I'll put
Yeah.
it that way. That's a few lost balls around that people have changed just based on 2 weeks of focusing on drills. I think that what we've seen as kind of the magic is a lot of our people. So Golf Digest is our partner in building this, right? As
Yeah.
as you know, we haven't mentioned yet. A lot of our users are reading Golf Digest articles. They're watching YouTube instructional videos, but they're reading and watching the wrong stuff. They don't
Yeah.
understand their own swings. I didn't understand mine until I used the app, if I'm honest. And so you read all this stuff and you start
Hmm.
tinkering, trying things, and you go backwards and you
Yeah.
give up on things very quickly because intuitively you know that you
Yeah.
might be doing the wrong thing.
Exactly.
Well, now the app identifies for you and shows you. okay, you're across the line, your hands are too far out on the backswing, or your hands are too far in on the backswing, or you rotate too much or too little, or you lose
Yeah.
your posture here or there. It explains your whole swing for you, both backswing and downswing, and then shows you, therefore, here's where we're starting, and here are the
Yep.
drills we want you to do. So people doing the right drills for 2 weeks when they've never done that before in their lives is pretty impactful. They get new movement patterns and they get a new understanding of what they're trying to do in the golf swing. They get new feels and they hit the ball straighter.
Yeah, I think that's so important for everybody listening. Like, I always think of the construct of just in life, but whether it's in the fitness side or business side, I always think of there's kind of like four things, right? You can solve the wrong problem the right way,
Mm.
right? That's you can solve the wrong problem the wrong way, and you could solve the right problem the wrong way. And I feel like a lot of times you got people on YouTube just picking stuff and they're going in those constructs instead of actually identifying the right problem and the right solution and solving that the right way. And so that's the mental construct for me is when I'm evaluating, an improvement system. It's like, how good is this thing at finding the right problem and then at giving the right solution? So that to me is, I think one of the cool things about it is it's not just like analysis. It's like, hey, we've analyzed it based on the data. This is what we then need to address, and then these would be the things to implement. Now, when you are implementing, like if I'm a user and I'm using it just for illustrating this for people listening,
Yeah.
you said they get a report card and they get drill. I mean, is there a certain number of things that they get? Is there
Yeah.
like how does that work for the person using it?
So you get one issue that Mark Blackburn recommends you work
Mhm.
on for
Yeah,
now. And
perfect.
then that's like one of the metrics in the report card. So as an example, it could be my first one was my hands were what Mark calls too far out on the backswing,
Okay.
which basically means they were too high.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
We measure it at the top of the backswing. That's where Mark wants it measured. So basically my arms are getting disconnected from my body. I'm a recovered baseball player, right? So I
Yeah.
was very armsy
Yeah.
and I really need to work on just being more connected in the
Hmm.
back. So in my app, all right, hands are two out on the backswing. It was like a 5 out of 10 was my score on that. It was dragging my overall score down. Um, I got an entire training plan directed at getting my hands more on plane in the
Right.
backswing. That training plan looks like it's a definition video from Mark where he explains what the issue is. Then you get 3 videos. This speaks to finding the right problem, as you just pointed out. You
Hmm.
get a few videos from Mark, depending what the issue is. You get, 3 to 5 videos on potential causes. So these
Oh
are
wow.
reasons that your hands might be too far out on the
You're getting
backswing.
a why. You're not just getting the what, you're getting a why with it, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And some of these things, to be honest, are things we can't see, right? The computer vision can't pick some of these things up yet. It could be a grip problem, right?
yeah.
Sometimes it could be a setup problem that we can't detect because we don't know where you're aiming, right?
Right.
So
Yep.
so Mark goes through some of these things in videos. Here are things you should check. And
Yeah.
this might be the reason your hands are too far out on the backswing.
Mhm.
And what we found in about 6 months of testing it now is that almost always people when they hear these 3 or 4 or 5 things, one of them they're like, it's the aha moment. They're like, that's it. That's the reason I have this problem.
Yeah.
Okay, now they understand their issue. Now they understand the right problem.
Yeah.
Then when they're going through their drills, they're able to really believe in the drills and apply them to the right problem. So they get the right problem and the right solution. So after the causes, you get probably 5 to 10 drills from Mark just for this issue. Um, we then ask people to upload a new swing at least, a week later, let's say, is
Yep.
usually the cadence. And then if they've improved on that issue they were working on, it'll get recommended to go to the next issue. I'll say, well, I'll be curious for your take on this, but like we get a lot of emails from people that are like, well, I saw my first plan. Great, I got it now. And it's like the same day, and they're like, now I want to move on to the next issue. And we specifically didn't build the
Yeah.
app allowing for that. We want people to follow
Yeah.
this process, but people don't want to do it. I'm curious how you would think about that, like training
Yeah.
movement patterns.
I mean, that's so funny you say that because it's not like we'll come in, we'll do the testing with people, and it's like, all right, you're in the 10th percentile of lower body power, and you want to pick up more speed, and okay, well, we need to build that. And we're like, okay, cool. So 50% by next week. And I'm like, no, well, that's not exactly how physiology works, sir.
Yeah.
It takes about 6 to 8 weeks. Then you're gonna go through. So, but I do think the fun thing that I always try to think of in our construct, at least in the fitness space, is yeah, it's obviously there's a lot of education and there's understanding of the why. That is something that, all of our listeners and everybody that we work with that like dies for, right? It's like, okay, that's cool. You told me what, so what? Why? Tell me why. I want to understand why. And I think for us, I always love the analogy of the I think it was like it's like a grandmother's, the kid needs the dog needs garlic or something. There was supposed to have some medicinal thing, right? And so the grandma says to the daughter, "Hey, give give Buddy, some garlic, right?" And she's trying to give the garlic. Kid's trying to give the garlic. The dog won't eat the garlic. And then she goes to the grandma. She's like, "She won't eat the garlic." She's like, "Oh, you got to wrap it in ham." So she wraps it in the ham, and the dog, freaking eats it up, no problem, right? And so I've that story's always stuck with me in that sometimes you have to give people what they want, wrap that around what they need. And so I think
Mhm.
that's where I always think of on the fitness side, and I think this goes true to the instructional side for everybody listening. Like when the most powerful thing I think that anybody can get is the information of what the problem is and understand why it is. And then, I'll always tell, like, for us, it's like bicep curls, right? Particularly like the high school kids, right? They're like, I want to do the boys, like, I want to do curls, curls for the girls. It's like,
Yeah.
cool. You can do curls, but you got to do these other four things that actually are going to matter for why you're here first. And if you get all that done, by all means, have at it, right? And so I think that's kind of how we've approached it is like, we're not going to tell you no, but we're going to tell you why all that's a waste of time and potentially going to be like hurtful to what you're trying to do and actually work you in the wrong direction. But if you want to do it, by all means, go ahead and do it. And I feel like for us, it's like by presenting that rational logic, like people are generally pretty logical, and you're just like, hey, like you can totally go do that. Like if you want to keep, slicing it or whatever, whatever the problem is, like you want to keep doing that, by all means, like here's you know what, here's 10 more drills you can go do that'll just
Right.
exacerbate your problem. But if you'd like to actually get better, these would be the three things that we'd recommend. And by all means, your choice, right? But I think that's kind
Yeah.
of how we've approached it.
That's interesting. We filmed last week our instructional videos with Justin Rose. So right now in the app, if you get your training plan, all of your instructional videos are from Mark Blackburn. Pretty soon we'll have a bunch of instructional videos from Michael Jacobs, another Golf Digest top 10 instructor. Um, but then Justin Rose is a big investor and partner
That's
of
gonna
ours.
be that's gonna be really cool.
Yeah, and he's so great on camera and the instruction is so great. But he's really interesting on this point, right? Because as anybody who watches golf knows, Rosie's been doing the same drills his whole
Yeah,
career, right?
yeah, yeah,
I mean, and I think most elite golfers are probably that way, but we see him doing the drill before every swing.
yeah,
We even call it the Rosie drill, where he's kind of dropping the arms, and
yeah,
sometimes he's in the chest with it. There's a few different iterations he does of it, but basically it's the same drill that he's relied on for 30 years. And so we filmed a lot with him, just explaining the power of that,
yeah,
finding the feels and the drills that really work for you, and then just really leaning into those and making them work for you. I think that's, going back to the initial concept. That's the power of AI. That's where AI can be harnessed for the right problem and the right solution.
yeah,
Learn what feels, what drills you should really be incorporating into your routine, and hammer them.
yeah,
And stop just kind of, tinkering around with everything. Find out what are the ways to get your golf swing closer to neutral right now, and then you get to go out and play with that.
yeah. Well, and I think that's for everybody listening in the golf. This is like for life, but I think it's so more like really golf is there's so much noise, right? There's so many things you could do, and I think if you look at every successful person, like they say no to everything else, right? And the golf swing is no different, right? And I think this is where like I joke with the guy I was talking about the bicep curls. I said to the guy, hey, I'll tell you what, just do bicep curls for the next 6 weeks, and then let's retest your club head speed and see if it goes up. And then for the next 6 weeks, let's do the stuff I'm telling you to do, and let's see if your club head speed goes up. Whoever
Yeah,
wins, we do their thing, right? And I think that's ultimately what the Muster Golf app does is it gives you that feedback. And it eliminates to me for the person, the golfer listening, it eliminates all the noise. And it says, look, the really successful people like Rosie, like we call it the hotspot list in the physical world. Like, hey, there's three things that tend to pop up that your low right back tends to be the thing that gets irritated, or your right elbow, whatever it may be. So here's the three things for you, like sir, that you need to always be on top of and be aware of. The golf swing's no different. Like you're going to have habits, you're going to have these things, and I think that to me that's the really cool thing of what you guys are doing is you're identifying the right problem, and then you're literally saying, hey, we have thousands of options of things that you could do, but literally based on like the best coaches in the world, the best data. These are the three things to do. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes as humans, that's like hard to be like, that's it. And it's like, but I want to be great. Well, it's like, yeah, well, step one is do more of the right thing. And then step two is just do that thing better. And
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
you're scratch, like don't worry about anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's commitment and diligence and work ethic, right? Now, I think what's interesting, presumably there's a lot of folks listening that work with you and learn from you. We try in the app again, we look at potential causes. So let's take a different example of somebody who might be under rotated in the backswing. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's a lot of
So
our
pretty much if you're over 50, that's all of you right now.
yeah, and then some of us
All of
under
you guys who fail all four rotary tests. I went on the radio today. I said, hey, if anybody over the age of 50 can pass all four rotary tests, I'm on XM radio. I said, I will give you a year free of training.
yeah.
Nobody got it. Nobody got it. No.
I wonder, yeah, I want to try to pass. That's interesting because I was thinking also under 50, anybody who's just on the bicep curl diet that you mentioned is probably
Yeah.
failing.
That'll be the next offer we make.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Okay.
this is for
So,
all of those
so
guys. They're going to be the under rotated guy you're talking about right now.
yeah. So then what we would flag in the app is this may be a physical limitation.
Yeah.
The solution might not be to just tell yourself to rotate more.
Yeah.
The solution might be you got to do some physical work. And Mark talks about that in the app. But I think that's, for somebody who's working with a coach or like working with one of your coaches or working through your platform, I think this Mustard technology can be really helpful, right? Because now they can go to their coach or go to you guys through the platform and say, these are the swing issues that I know I'm having. Are
Mhm.
there things we should be doing with my training program that will help me naturally dial the swing in a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, it was just having a conversation with one of our clients, like probably an hour before we jumped on. And all his mobility numbers are great now. Like he had no mobility. He's now rotating really well. He's been working with us for about a year. All of his power numbers are up. When we look at his goal, I think he started at like 95. He's like 102, 103 miles an hour. He wants to get to 100. I think it's 108 was his goal for something. Just a random number he picked. I don't know. I don't know where it came from. He couldn't tell me either. But basically, I said, my first question was, oh, well, do you work with a golf professional? Because what we should do is we should get with them to talk about what you're trying to do performance wise and what we're trying to do, on the physical side, so we can make sure we're supporting that. And the most frustrating thing for me has always been they're like, well, no, I don't. Like, there's a guy at the club. I may see him once. He kind of knows my swing or whatever. And to me, that's the power of a tool like this, like Mustard Golf, is now all of a sudden that guy, like, well, cool. You don't have an instructor. Well, let's here, go to the app store, grab it,
Yeah.
and let's see what you got. And then, then it can say, hey, like, let's say that happened, right? And it says, hey, you may have a physical limitation. We very confidently can say to the guy, nope, no physical limitation. And I think that's what we see with a lot of guys as they get better is they actually will still move. And this is probably 40% of guys. 60%, they like, boom, they figure it out. Their bodies
Hmm.
move better. They move better in their golf swing. But I'd say almost half, there's a need to like figure out how to get what they've built physically into the golf swing. They still will do their old under rotation or not weight shifting to the lead side, whatever it may be. And to me, that's the cool part of a tool like this is it systematizes not just the physical side, but then it also helps you to figure out the instructional side in a really high quality DIY kind of way.
Yeah. It's interesting. We're in baseball where you can't play baseball without a coach. Every baseball
Right.
player has a coach, right? You're on a
Yeah.
team. You got a team
Yeah.
coach. And so that just from a business perspective, that affects how we go about distribution in baseball and how
Yeah.
we create the product. It's something you have to use with a coach. But it also led to this learning for us. Early days of baseball, a lot of coaches were very nervous about our product because they thought we were replacing them.
Trying to replace them instead of augment them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I'm honest, in the early days, I thought it might, I didn't know. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody had done it before. We were the first one in baseball and yeah, maybe it would replace a lot of coaches.
Yeah.
What we found is, yes, a player can use it without a coach. And to me, that's like in baseball, that's like level 7 coaching. Okay. 7 out of
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
Um, but if you use it with a coach, that's 10 out of 10. Basically, Mustard would take any coach from whatever level they were at and take them up to a 10 because now they got Tom House as an assistant coach in baseball, and that makes them pretty good.
100%.
In golf, it's a totally different market. So the way we look at it, there's 16 million people in the US that watch YouTube instructional videos for golf. Okay, so
Hmm.
there's 16 million of us that care enough to spend our time when we're at the
Watching.
computer.
Yeah.
We're at home, we could be doing something with our kids, or we're at work, we could be working, and instead we're watching YouTube instructional swing videos trying to get better at golf. Only 1 million of those 16 million people, only 1 million take lessons, right? So people care about it enough to spend their time on it when it's convenient for them at the computer, but they don't care enough about it either to pay for it or to take the time to go. So when we started doing research, well, why aren't these people taking lessons?
Yeah.
Some of them are too embarrassed. They think they suck too bad at golf and they don't
Yeah.
want anybody to see them hit the ball. I,
Hmm.
I understand that feeling. That makes sense. I know I remember that. I don't feel that way anymore, but I felt that way for a long time, so I get
Yeah.
that. Um, so okay, so that's sometimes there's a cost. I realize I'm gonna have to pay. It's not one lesson's not gonna do it. I'm gonna have to pay for six.
Right.
So, six lessons at 150 each. All right, that this is I don't have the
I'm
money
out.
for
Yeah.
that. Yep, well, I understand that, of course. And then there's the time aspect of it, which is interesting because all of these folks are playing golf. So they're taking the time to play golf, but they maybe get to play once a week. And
Yeah.
so then they would say, well, I get to play once a week. I don't want to take my time with dealing with somebody else at the
Hmm.
course who I may or may not like. I just want to play. Like I'm trying to have fun during that time. So I always say like if you're interested in using mustard, it'll still level you up if you work with an in-person coach. You're gonna get a relationship. You're gonna get next level analysis where they can use mustard too. You're gonna get inspiration. It's gonna make you better. But if you fall into one of those three categories we talked about, where you're just not going to use an in-person coach, yeah, mustard can help you get better just on your own in golf. And that's kind of the point. You can do it at home. We do the annual price is basically the cost of the average lesson. The annual price of mustard is $150. You can also do a monthly, but a lot of our people pick the annual because you get a discount that way.
Well, it's a heck
And
of a
then
deal.
yeah, and then you don't have to hit a ball in front of anybody, so you can avoid the
Yeah.
embarrassment.
Well, I think, what you're bringing up there, I think when I started the business, the reason I started P1st Golf was I was frustrated with the quality of data collection or lack thereof in the fitness space. I thought golf fitness was a joke. I was like, there's no way this could. I actually worked for free for people in the beginning because I felt bad taking money and I wasn't confident I could help them. Right. And then as part of our business, I went locally because it was before we were online. This is 2011, 12, before an online golf thing would have even done anything. But I went pro to pro at all of the different clubs in the area. I'm in the triangle. There's lots of golf pros. Probably had 15, 20 lessons. I'm not joking when I say zero of them assessed me the same way. Zero of them told me to do that. I had to work on the same thing, and zero of them gave me the same drill. And so I think, and then I think when you look at the historical data on handicaps in America, they haven't moved.
Yeah.
And then you look, and then you say, well, why is that? Is it like, do golf pros stink? And no, inherently they don't. Inherently they just don't have. There's no when you look at how are they taught to teach when they get their PGA certification and whatnot. It's very much on running a golf shop, running tournaments. A lot of the instruction, and this is starting to change. With the PGM programs, we actually will go down and speak to those guys, but there's no education on the body. There's no education on a system of coaching. It's literally based on your internship, who you get. If you get to a club and there's a great teacher there that you can learn under, it's very much kind of archaic in that sense of sharing stories and you learn that way. And so I think
Yeah.
to your point, there are a lot of great coaches who understand, hey, if this guy wants to get to a 5 from a 10, these are the areas of the game he needs to, work on. But what mustard golf to me, what the technology starts to do is it starts to standardize assessment and give you objective points. One thing I hate on that is like, how'd that feel? Like, I don't care how it felt. Was it better or not? Like, what does the data tell me? You know what I mean? And I think that there is such a disconnect the more you actually practice. And we have two simulators here, and like I'll hit some that I'm like, oh, that felt great. And then you look at the data and you're like, oh my God, okay, I don't want to feel that. Like, I don't want to feel great if that's the result. And
Right.
so to me, that's where the augmentation comes in for the golf professional or the teacher is you now get to leverage the expertise and the experience, which is not replaceable, of the coach with a standardized assessment system where you can objectively say, hey, this is what this is where I started. I'm going to implement a solution that the coach thinks I should implement, using this tool, and then we're going to go do it, and then I'm going to retest. And it's like the basic scientific method, like problem identified, hypothesis, implement, retest. If it didn't get better, I should probably try something else.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the true value. You talk about leveling up; it levels everybody to a 7. But now, if to truly, we can get. It's not getting bad to good; it's getting good to great. And to me, that's what, when used correctly, how the technology is really, really valuable for everybody.
Well, I agree with everything you said, although I would also say I think it's very effective at getting people bad to passable.
Oh,
I think
100%.
I think
Yeah.
the
So I'm
core,
saying I'm talking more about like the instructors, right? Like
yeah, yeah,
how do we give everybody how do we level everyone up as close as possible to Mark Blackburn, let's say, or like to
yeah.
that level, right?
Yeah,
And
I
so
mean,
it just
100%.
augments the experience for everybody. And I mean, the beginners are the ones who are probably nervous to go hit balls in front of people, and maybe it gets those people to the level where now they feel comfortable enough to then use the pro as well. You know what I mean? I think there's
Exactly.
so many use cases to me that are really cool.
No, we've definitely proven that it makes the coach player relationship stickier. If they're using mustard together, in baseball and in golf, those people are going to work together forever
Yeah.
because the coach can prove the progression to the player in the
Yeah.
same set, right? So usually you're hitting balls on the right. Okay, you might be feeling like you hit balls better at the end of a lesson, but sometimes you're at the end of a lesson, you're hitting the balls horrible, right? Because you
Yeah.
just got a new swing thought and you're thinking a lot of swing stuff. Well, now the coach can show you like, okay, yes, you need to practice this. You need another range session to dial it in, but your swing score is improving. Like
Yeah.
stick with it,
Yeah.
and then you get the light bulb moment for a player, which we think is really impactful. It's interesting. As you were talking, I was thinking more about your early comments of like um, people slapping AI on everything.
Yeah.
We're very proud of our AI. Like I feel strongly about it. I think we've made it really useful for people. Now what we see like in venture world is everybody's trying to figure out how to use generative AI. It's not just AI, but it's like where's the Chat GPT generative AI
Yeah.
element to this? And without sharing too much that we're not ready to release yet, like we are building generative AI
That's
features
cool.
into our app that I think will be really impactful. But as part of going down that road, I heard from one of the biggest tech companies on earth, some of the generative AI stuff they're working on, and they showed us they built in a very short period of time a golf product with generative AI
Really?
that given the little amount of time they spent on it was quite impressive. Like I was like,
Wow.
that would have taken us, you know, several months.
Yeah.
But it was impressive, but still not usable for the average golfer. It wouldn't have lowered handicaps, I'll put it that way, right?
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
it would
Yeah.
have been fun to play with, but it's like if you just funnel all of the golf instruction on the internet into a product. Well, that we already have that. We have the internet already, right? And
Correct.
people
Yeah.
are already funneling through that and already getting confused. And so now you've got things in there that conflict with each other, or you get one recommendation one day, you get a different one the next day, or you're getting recommendations from somebody who's not the best coach in the world,
Doesn't know
right?
what they're doing. Yeah.
Be better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what we found through that process is like there were elements of generative AI that really shorten runways for companies, obviously, of course.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
and you can create products much more quickly in a very impactful ways. But you still have to do the hard work that we're doing, which is find the best coach in the world in a sport and then spend thousands of hours with them, basically pulling the magic out of their brain in a
Yeah.
way that is programmable.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think that's the big thing to me is like, yes, you can pull everything offline. That still doesn't solve the problem. I've always called it the Google. My dream is always to build the Google of golf. I think we've talked
Yeah,
about this before, where like you can create the single entry point where the user, the golfer out there, has confidence that the search results that they're plugging in are going to be accurate, right? And
yeah,
say like, I'm coming over the top, or how do I stop slicing? And instead of saying, oh, this is how you stop slicing, it says, well, let's take a look. Let's do it. Like, give us some metrics. Let's send a swing in, and then we'll tell you if that's even the problem, or if that's just a symptom of something else. That one of my favorite analogies, like you go to the mechanic and you tell them like, hey, my car's making a noise, right? And you don't even take you just like you see the mechanic at the grocery store. He's like, well, maybe this or this, right? To me, that's like just searching the internet. How do I fix my slice? Versus you actually take it into the mechanic, which is going into the Mustard Golf app or coming into P4S Golf for the body, and you say, hey, can you take a look? And you say, okay, yeah, so it's making a noise, but that's actually connected to this, which that's what's causing that noise. But actually, that's the problem is coming from this other spot over here. And actually, there's two other things over here that are about to break. So if we can address that one thing, that'll take the stress off of those two, and it'll fix everything,
Yeah.
right? And it's like that's the level of detail that having the right assessment then ultimately brings. I think unfortunately, a lot of people are just like talking to the mechanic in the grocery store, like, hey, it's buzzing. Oh, well, it's probably that. And to me, that's where the struggle has been with people's handicaps not improving is wrong problems and guesses at solutions, and they're just not the right ones.
I think people know that too. Like I think people, it's intuitive for people that when you get a Band-Aid, it's like, okay, stop moving your head.
Yeah,
Uh, People are like, well, I'm moving my head because of six other things that happen in the chain and I don't know what they are. And so then when
right,
people come to you, they feel that magic right away. You know, one piece of the app I didn't talk about yet, but it's actually proven to be like our magic moment when people really buy into what we're doing and
right.
believe it. You upload a swing, and actually before you see your report card, we have this video, AI video of Mark Blackburn pops up. And basically, he explains your whole swing to you. So it's
That's
not
pretty cool.
just one thing he wants you to work on, but he actually explains both your backswing and your downswing to you. So an example, again, thinking about my first one would have been like, okay, your hands are too far out on the backswing, they're too high. And then as a result of that, you kind of, you're trying to figure out how to get the club back to the ball. Your hands come too far in on the downswing. And then as a result of that, you don't rotate enough. You kind of early extend a little bit. You're thrusting at the golf ball. And as a result of that, your misses, this is the key part, your misses are probably A, B, and C.
I mean, it's
So everybody gets that video, or I'd say 95% of swings get that kind of analysis from Mark up front within 30
yeah.
seconds of the swing. People, when they realize that computer vision, the AI, has seen the whole swing and done that level of analysis, and then Mark is going to tell them, therefore, here's the one thing I want you to work on. That's when they
That's
know it's going to
compelling.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's compelling. That's pretty compelling.
yeah, and that's not for us. It's not about making the sale. It's about we need to be compelling and convincing for people right then, so that they'll be committed to doing the work, right?
Hmm.
So that they know when they get the drills from us, those are the right drills for them to get better. They need to
Yeah.
know on that level of analysis first.
Yeah, well, I think that's the similar, approach we're taking in our model is, we've spent basically a year creating over a year worth of content of kind of like video on demand type content, right? Or it's follow along or prescripted based on how people do on an assessment. And we similar to you guys, our goal is to help every golfer we can play this game as long as possible, and we're literally going to start giving it away for free. Like, and this is
Mm.
like same quality level as other products that are charging 30 bucks a month or a couple $100 a year. Like, we're literally just gonna give it away for free. And for the exact reason of like, I don't want any cost barrier. I want to help. Our mission is to help every single person we possibly can. And if this can help people who can't afford it, great. And there's going to be people who get into it and they're like, wow, if this is the free stuff, like paid stuff must be pretty cool too. Like, and like, oh, I want to coach. I want it customized even more. So I want to dive deeper into like, and then obviously people will do other stuff on that. But I think that's the same idea. You guys use the word democratize. It's how do we get this? How do we get this information, the right information? That's been the big thing for me. Is with all the data and research we do, I know we have the right information. The problem is it's so dang noisy that it's hard to get the right information out to people. Well, let's make it free and really good, and then they'll take it that way, right? It's to me that's how we're always looking at it: is how do we continue to get this stuff to people, so that way they can they can get the right information. The power of knowledge is just and being informed and being empowered to kind of handle and take care of themselves. I think is so critical, and that's the same thing you guys are doing is giving them an objective way to improve.
People want to get better at their sport, and I think that's one of the greatest joys in life is like progressing at something. I think we're
Yeah.
all after that sort of like personal improvement progression. That's why golf is addictive. It's like this.
Hmm.
It's people that are addicted to golf. It's people that are passionate about constant self improvement, and
Hmm.
usually in other parts of life too. Um, But man, when you're into an activity like that and it feels like either you don't have the knowledge or you don't have the time or you don't have the resources to
Yeah.
keep progressing and you're just sort of stagnant, that's when people quit. I mean, there's just
It's
no fun.
demotivating. Yeah, 100%
Yeah.
demotivating. So like, yeah, I just spent all this time doing this and I got worse. Like
Yeah.
that's not fun.
No, yeah, in golf it's hard because it just takes so long to play, So a lot of us it's like, okay, you're gonna play, 12 rounds a year. Well, you're gonna have to find some ways to practice at home or you're not
Yeah.
gonna get um so, but I think with what you offered and what we offer, it's interesting, right? Like people accept for the most part that in order to get better at golf, they got to be in certain shape physically. They got to be able to move in certain ways. They got to have a certain amount of stamina. They got to have a certain amount of flexibility. And I think you guys are the best on earth at providing that stuff. And I think for us, people understand that their swing has to be relatively on plane. It's got to be within certain parameters.
Hmm.
And what we've proven in early data is our technology can help people dial the swing into a place where it's more neutral very
Yeah.
quickly. So there's
That's
a
cool.
good
But I'm
fun.
so yeah, no, I'm so excited. It's gonna be fun to bring you on like after you guys are out for a year
Yeah,
and hear the like it'll be fun to like listen back to this and then yeah, have everyone then listen to a year from now. And like I can already tell how much more dialed in it's gonna be. It's gonna be, yep, do this is it's gonna be so cool. So Baragi, I want to thank you so much for coming on, man. Where was the best place for them to get involved with Mustard? I know you guys do a bunch of free stuff on Instagram. Like, what's the best place for them to
yeah.
follow you guys and see what you're doing?
They can find us in the App Store. Just look for Mustard Golf. Obviously, we have a pitching application in the App Store too. Only use that one if you're a pitcher. So for people listening to this, I recommend you search for Mustard Golf and you'll find us. Instagram, yeah, we got a ton of instructional videos and fun stuff on Instagram that people enjoy, and it's Team Mustard on Instagram. Our website is Team MSTRD, so mustard without the vowels, teammstrd.com. So any of those, or just or shoot us an email, any questions, thoughts, info@teammstrd.com.
Perfect, man. Well, we'll make sure we put all that in the show notes so everybody has that easily accessible. And dude, it was hard for us to get together to do this. I'm so excited we finally got it on the record here because it's truly, I admire what you guys are doing. I've been following you guys obviously for a while, looking at a lot of the other stuff just as we continue to try to augment what we do for people. And so I really encourage you guys listening, go check it out. It's definitely worth the download, and see what Mark tells you. Hopefully, is there one for if somebody has the perfect golf swing where it says, "Sorry, you're perfect, can't help you."
All right, I'll tell you a quick story. And then you can give Peter Maurice a hard time about this before you kick me off here.
I love this.
I don't think Mark will mind by telling the story. So we have a lot of people that upload videos of swings that are not their swing, right? And we knew
Oh,
this.
really?
We
Yeah,
knew this coming out of beta. So we're filming with Mark for 3 days in outside of Birmingham where he works. And I said, look, we need a video to pop up when somebody uploads a swing of Tiger Woods or Justin Rose.
yeah,
And so I guess we got to film it. And I wanted it to be just funny and kind of casual.
yeah,
And just say, hey, we noticed it was Justin Rose,
yeah,
get lost.
yeah.
But Mark inserted a slew of swear words at the person, like pretty colorful ones in a very Mark Blackburn way. He was like, "Yeah, we know, like great swing, except we noticed it was Justin Rose. You blah 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 blah."
Yeah,
And so I loved it, and I intended to put it in the app, but Golf Digest
got an
straight.
axe on that one. Yeah,
I think they didn't even send it back to us actually out of
that's
editing.
hilarious.
We never even got it back. But I hope at some point we'll have another video like that, maybe without the swear words.
Oh,
Uh,
that's amazing.
we do notice when that happens, or that AI notices. So there's
Yeah,
something to do. Yeah.
that's so
But,
cool.
Chris, I really appreciate you having me on. I've been and remain a huge admirer of yours and part for success. So a treat to come on and get to tell our story in golf with people that we admire and respect so much. And obviously, we've been lucky to do some stuff with you in baseball and with Tom House too. So yeah, thanks for helping us tell the
Yeah,
story a
man.
little bit, and look forward to continuing to learn from you all too.
Likewise. Cool. And we'll definitely we'll do this again in about a year. I'll be excited to share with everyone where you guys are at. So thanks as
Sounds
always, guys, for hanging out with us on the Golf Fitness Bomb Squad, and we'll catch you on the next episode.